Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day and God bless you. Let's get into the news. Folks, this is a very interesting phenomenon. It's really fascinating. Donald Trump is up in every poll over DeSantis. He's the #1 Republican. He's the only Republican by far in terms of a primary for 24. Okay, he'll be the nominee. There's nobody that can come close to him. DeSantis is like 20-30 points away. Fox News is being sued for $1.6 billion. Okay. For momentarily backing Trump in terms of certain claims. This is a phenomenon that happens in American media politics, and this is why this is taking place. Okay. It's very interesting, and I'll explain exactly why. When CNN and MSNBC, The Washington Post, The Times, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, The Atlantic, BuzzFeed, every other publication, Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert, their Twitter before Elon Musk, when an entire public relations monstrosity says Trump was an operative of another country. And he worked with another country to release emails damaging to the Democratic Party as showing that Bernie Sanders was railroaded by his own political party, thus pushing people to choose Trump over Clinton doing the work of another country. This, of course, is a grandiose lie, never happened. The Mueller probe did not indict Trump. None of these Steele dossier was actually false, fabricated, absurd fantasy masquerading as raw intelligence. That's one way they described it. But this was news. They used the Steele dossier that was completely false, full of not just information that misinformed, false, categorically 100% false information and defamatory statements. BuzzFeed got out of the defamation lawsuit by saying, well, the government utilized it. And so that's the difference between the Fox News defamation case and the BuzzFeed defamation case. When BuzzFeed published the Steele dossier, they Lugar really stated in the headline, it's unverified. It's unverified. We're gonna publish it anyway. And then one of the top people there said, we're gonna let people decide. They didn't do that. The New York Post was actually suspended by Twitter. That truth about the Democratic Party, or the truth about specific Democrats, whether it's the DNC emails, or the New York Post reporting about specific emails that Hunter received and wrote that point to felonies. This is no, we can't hear that. But actual fabricated nonsense was published by BuzzFeed. Utilized by government agencies, the Federal Bureau of Investigation offered hundreds of files, I think about $1 million to $2 million to verify the dossier. It was completely fabricated because it was purchased by Clinton and the DNC and they paid FEC violations. But the lies against Trump from that dossier could not have been there was no litigation, or there were no lawsuits where Trump could go after a specific entities for pumping out defamatory false statements about him because the government was involved. And there wasn't a specific corporation that they were up against. So Fox News doesn't have that luxury. Neither does Trump when they lie. But I'm trying to explain to everybody why this is so. There's a $1.6 billion lawsuit. The Fox News has Fox News during the lawsuit. Paul Ryan is part of the board of directors. I don't know why he is. He shouldn't be. He has pretty much no influence within the Republican Party other than to just annoy Trump and to try to, get the Republican Party back to continually losing like Mittens Romney and Paul Ryan did. What, in 2012? Okay. And they got favorable news coverage compared to today. I mean, there were reports on Paul Ryan's workout plan. Okay, you'll never get to that point again, where news is so. A political Time magazine will, objective Time magazine, they'll do a wonderful piece on, Trump's vice president's workout routine. They don't never happen. It would be like, oh my God, Trump and his vice president. They're trying to prevent the world from working out. It would be spun a million different ways. But anyway, Fox News went out, did not individuals that they gave a platform to went after specific organizations or corporations. This is the difference. When CNN and MSNBC give people a platform, whether it's intelligence chiefs are just people who are fanatical who despise Trump, their reason for living is to just, insult Trump. And they make false statements. It's Times v. Sullivan. And when the New York Times, for example, publishes an op-ed from an anonymous source within Trump's administration that's saying, oh, We're protecting the country from Trump. They're per day protected, because they're not going after specific corporations. They're not making specific claims related to corporations that could then sue. They're making broad, generalized claims based on opinion, or intelligence or morally superior liberal sensibilities, and they can get away with it. Because at the end of the day, it's just opinion. It's not a specific statement about a corporation. And so that's the point. And the reason that President Trump is destroying Fox News is because Fox is caught between a rock and a hard place. It does not support, it will not show. And this is some big news. Biden administration finally bans TikTok on government devices. The White House on Monday banned TikTok from government devices more than 2 years after then-President Donald Trump's attempt to ban the Chinese spyware app was thwarted by a district court. The Office of Management and Budget instructed all federal agencies to eliminate TikTok from government devices within 30 days. The rule allows no exemptions for entire agencies, and only some individual exceptions for research purposes. Congressional Republicans, meanwhile, are still pushing for a nationwide ban on the app, arguing that the social media platform allows the Chinese Communist Party to access Americans' personal data. Quote, anyone with TikTok downloaded on their device has given a CCP a backdoor to all their personal information, said Representative Mike McCall of Texas. He states, quote, it's a spy balloon into their phone. Under Chinese law, companies in the country must submit any information they collect to the CCP. Trump issued an executive order in 2022 banned TikTok, however. The move was blocked in a district court. The Biden administration opted for a broader rule in 2021 requesting the Commerce Department to look into foreign software programs without targeting TikTok specifically. Though the White House and certain federal agencies have existing bans on TikTok, Biden has often reached out to TikTok influencers to promote the White House's messages. In September, he advocated for electric cars in a TikTok video taken at the Detroit Auto Show. TikTok is known to collect extensive data from its users. Forbes reported in December that ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, spied on Forbes journalists after the magazine. The chief content officer for Forbes said TikTok's behavior was, quote, a direct assault on the idea of a free press and its critical role in a functioning democracy. By Biden administration is worried 2008 warrantless wiretap spy law will lapse. The Biden administration is reportedly worried a 2008 spy law permitting warrantless wiretaps will not be renewed by Congress, as lawmakers both on the left and right have expressed privacy concerns. The administration has begun to push to lobby for reauthorization 10 months before the last sunsets. Quote, its value cannot be overstated, said Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olson on Tuesday at the Brookings Institution. He continues, quote, without SONO we will lose indispensable intelligence for our decision makers and warfighters as well as those of our allies, and we have no fallback authority that could come close to making up for that loss. Currently, Section 702 allows the FBI and National Security Agency to gather emails, text messages and other electronic data from databases without a traditional warrant based on probable cause when the target is a foreigner overseas. And it's for foreign intelligence purposes, such as counterterrorism, nuclear proliferation, espionage and cyberattacks. The material gathered goes into a database and that surveillance is subject to oversight by a federal court, Congress, the Justice Department and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The FBI is granted access to only a portion of that database. The law was initially passed in 2008 when the Obama administration was worried about Middle East terrorism. Since then it has been reauthorized twice by Congress with increasingly narrower scopes. Critics and privacy advocates say the law permits warrantless searches of American email accounts that have interfaced with foreign targets. But some in the intelligence community claimed the Americans incidentally caught up in the data collection are of a small amount. The expiring legislation comes as many Americans do not trust the FBI in the wake of its spying on President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, alleged failure to investigate Hunter Biden's laptop, and recent bombshell revelation that former New York FBI spy chief was caught violating U.S. sanctions by agreeing to provide services to a Russian oligarch. Border officers break record for port fentanyl and meth seizure. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers made the largest seizure of meth and fentanyl in the history of the on-trade ports of entry in California. Officials announced officers encountered a 37-year-old female U.S. citizen driving a 2016 pickup truck from Mexico into the United States on Sunday afternoon. the border agency said on Monday. Upon further inspection with an imaging system, officers discovered irregularities in the vehicle's gas tank, and a canine team positively alerted agents to narcotics being present. The agency said officers ultimately found 46 packages of fentanyl pills weighing nearly 54 pounds, with an estimated street value of $750,000, and 30 meth packages weighing about 32 pounds, with an estimated street value of more than $200,000. Law enforcement seized the vehicle and turned the driver over to the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Homeland Security investigations. Additives introduced a bill to end no-knock raids on gun owners. Representative Bob Good introduced legislation on Tuesday designed to end the FBI and ATF coordinating with local law enforcement to carry out no-knock raids on gun owners. Good legislation. The Federal Agent Responsibility Act was co-introduced by Representative Scott Perry. In a press release made clear that Good is concerned that the ATF recent AR pistol stabilizer brace could, quote, open the door for increased coordination between the ATF and local agents to perform no-knock warrants on law-abiding gun owners, close quote. The Federal Agent Responsibility Act is intended to prevent such raids. Good stated, quote, the Biden administration continues to weaponize every part of the executive branch to infringe on the rights of all Americans. Law-abiding gun owners in my district and across the country should not live in fear that federal agents will come knocking at their door to confiscate their guns. My bill will provide a check on this administration and ensure no-knock rates are not exploited to violate the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens, close quotes. Good legislation does, however, recognize an exception in the event that, quote, the federal officer enters a residence due to a risk or threat of a serious imminent life-threatening injury to a law enforcement officer. Others. The chief goal of Good's bill is to end government overreach via the weaponization of federal agencies. Desperate Border Patrol offering up to $20,000 to hire new Border Patrol agents. Amid an unprecedented surge in illegal migration, and increasingly desperate U.S. Customs and Border Protection is now offering up to $20,000 to new Border Patrol agents in recruitment incentives should they agree to deploy at a hard-to-fill location. That figure includes a $10,000. The agency will offer to any new board virtual agents upon their completion of the academy, and a potential $10,000 extra should they accept service at one of the several high-need border sites. CBP offers up to $45,000 in yearly salary depending on location. Recipients of either the $10,000 or the full $20,000 must commit to a 2-year service agreement. Other requirements include U.S. citizenship, possession of a valid driver's license, eligibility to carry a firearm, and successful application. The lucrative recruitment incentives come as the Border Patrol, CBP, and the Department of Homeland Security increasingly struggled to contain the rising tide of illegal migration at the U.S. border with Mexico. Lawmakers press the Pentagon on who is tracking US weapons in Ukraine. A senior Defense Department official on Tuesday said U.S. weapons and munitions in Ukraine are not being systematically misused. After House lawmakers raise concerns over proper oversight of the billions of dollars in security aid flowing into Ukraine, the Pentagon's Undersecretary of Defense for Policy told the House Armed Services Committee it has, quote, not seen any evidence of diversion from U.S. assistance to support Ukraine against a Russian invasion. Quote, we think the Ukrainians are properly using what they've been given, said. Lawmakers, however, raised concerns about long-standing corruption in Ukraine, and the fact that there are very few U.S. personnel on the ground in the country to track the weapons and equipment transfers. Representative Matt Gaetz hammered the Defense Department's lead watchdog, Inspector General Robert Sturridge, after he said they were continuing to look at the issue through a number of ongoing projects, but did not definitively say that there was no corruption or misuse of U.S. military aid. Quote, you cannot testify that everything is complying with the law. In end-use monitoring, Gaetz said, if you could testify to that, you would. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode.